All right, so I just finished teaching my Saturday classes. I'm hot, I'm sweaty, and it's a good thing you're not in the car here with me or you'd be smelling me, and nobody wants that. So yeah, it's good times. Now, believe it or not, I actually tried filming my my classes the other day, which all went well, and I was trying to give a bit of a breakdown of what I was going to be doing in the classes, and the phone kept overheating. So I didn't actually end up catching the first part of it, only the second part, and then it overheated again, and then I had to film the next bit. But I didn't realize that I didn't catch the first bit. So I'm just going to kind of go over what I said then and describe what I was going to do with the class. And then from there, it'll attach to the other parts of the video, and you guys will see it from there. Basically, the only part that I missed in the video was talking about the first class that I was going to be teaching that afternoon, which was the kind of like Little Ninjas Muay Thai program. So this is the age group of about 4 to 6 kind of thing. And you know, with that class, it's only 30 minutes. It's short, it's sharp. Their attention span isn't really at the stage yet where they can focus for a whole hour or 45 minutes even. And a lot of the times, what a lot of clubs do, they just play lots of like games, and these games are good, right? They help you develop coordination, balance, and that's great. But I still want to be able to teach the skill. So by the end of the time that they're in that class and they move up to the older group, they actually have some real Muay Thai skills. So I try to make it fun, but simple enough for them as well to actually get it. So the way I do it is we have a game for a warm-up, and each game kind of develops a different skill. The game we're playing today is shoulder tag. Or the game we played on that day was shoulder tag, and pretty much it's all about reading distance and controlling the space between you and your partner. So throwing, essentially trying to touch the shoulders, moving back so that they miss, and then you can counter. It's all about distance management and timing and reactions, which are obviously vital skills for any kind of striking style. By then they're nice and warmed up, they're ready to go. And then we'll focus on one technique. So the technique we focused on was just our uppercuts. So learning how to throw the uppercut properly, breaking it down, and then working them in like kind of like a line draw where they each get a go with me and they practice it. And then we kind of go, we have like an exercise at the end, and then they come back, and there's a lot of running up and down. They enjoy that. Whew, man, I'm wet. So yeah, once we've done that, then we look at blocking that very technique. So we'll block the uppercut. I'll show them how to do it. We'll practice it. Then we'll do it again in that same line draw. We'll have a different exercise. After we've done that, I like to do like a freestyle round where we get to incorporate the uppercut with other techniques, but we're not going deep into those other techniques. So I like one technique where we go deep, we hyper focus on that one thing, get it right, and then now we do this other round where we just kind of touch base on things. For some kids that are there, they've already seen those techniques, they're already at a decent level. Other kids that are there, maybe they haven't looked at that technique, so they're just trying their best in the moment. And I'm not going to over critique it, just going to let them try it out. Once we've done that, now we actually take the uppercut, we get a partner, and we take turns with it, right? So I go, then you go, and we just do the uppercut. We learn how to do it softly and controlled. So we learn how to go from attacking to blocking. Once we've done a round of that, now's the time to finish with the game at the end so the kids can have a bit of fun at the end as well. And that game changes as well. So the game today is a bit of a team building game. So it's lava bridge, and that's where they kind of like all stand on these pads, and they've got to move across the gym floor, passing the pad to the next person. Every time they step off the pad, they got to go back to the beginning. And it's funny to see them work together and realize that if they go too quick, they're probably going to make a mistake. So they've got to be patient, and it teaches them some pretty cool skills there. And that's pretty much it. So the next part of this video, you'll see it's going to change to the older group, and we'll see you there. So clearly, me trying to drive with a tripod in the car isn't quite working. So I'm going to have to figure out something else. But we're just going to continue. So for our kids program, so not the little ones, but not the small little ones, but the other little ones, we're going to start off with basic footwork while punching, stepping with our punches to make sure that we're able to keep our balance and actually potentially punch with power. So that's going to be our warm-up. And then after that, we're going to do a bit of a little bit of pad work. And the way I like to do this is I'll give them a combination to start with, depending on whatever skill that I'm working with them. And then for the second round, I want to start building them and building their ability to start freestyle pad work, because that's going to be an important skill later on, especially if you want to keep going down with Muay Thai. Being able to hold pads for someone is a good skill. So a lot of kids, obviously, if you try to tell them to freestyle pad hold, even adults, right, they're just going to stand there with a blank face and they're not going to really know what to do. So I try to build them up So there's a few different ways I do that, but the way I'm going to do it today is with the combination that we're learning in the first round, right, which will be like 3 techniques. I'm just going to tell them, think about those 3 techniques that you just did and, pick it apart. So let's say this isn't the one, but let's say it's a hook, a kick, and a knee, all right, in the combination. So take the hook, the kick, the knee, and now you can mix it and mix and change it however you like. So you can throw a kick, then back to a hook, then back to a knee. Just keep cycling those 3 techniques and changing the order of them. As you get more comfortable, feel free to start adding any other techniques that you remember from any previous classes or, just from your training. The more advanced kids will obviously be more comfortable and they start going into more freestyle pad holding just naturally from there. After we do that, then we're going to move over into the technique that I'm working with them. So the technique is going to be our teep defense. Specifically, we're looking at the teep catch. Most of them know their teep parries. So we're looking at it as a teep catch. If they're all catching the teep pretty well, I actually want to teach them a counter from catching that teep, which will be like pulling the leg down and throwing an elbow. So that's going to be the idea. That's what I'd like. And depending on the time left, generally I like to do like a basic Dutch drill. So that's where they go back and forth with a combination and hopefully including the teep catch technique inside that combination. By then we're done. We just usually finish up with a game of dodgeball, or there's another game we play as well. From there, we're going to go into our adults Muay Thai class. So today, it's because it's Wednesday, it's going to be the kind of like a mixed intermediate class. Now, it's not really an intermediate class. I just basically have it separated from, like, there's certain nights where I call them fundamentals focused. So those who are brand new, I give you the attention and you're allowed to in these classes, and we break down some very, very basic things, and I help you with that. These classes you can't attend unless I give you the thumbs up. So to be in this class, you got to know how to do your basic strikes. You got to know how to defend your basic strikes, and now we're just putting it into practice. And again, I cycle through different kind of formats that I run these classes in. That was a correct grammatical sentence. I don't think it was, but different ways that I do the classes. Some sessions we do more pad work, some less, some all basically sparring or sparring type drills, which is what we're doing today. So in these drills, we've got our first one's going to be because these guys are more advanced, going straight into a freestyle Dutch drill where one person throws a free combination, then the other one throws it back and forth. Then we're going to go into a more technical drill, one which I call 1, 2, 3. So I like, for example, if I'm with someone, I'll throw 1, then they throw 2 shots back at me, then I throw 3. And it's meant to be instantaneous. There's not meant to be these long pauses in between. But the modifier today is going to be on the 3rd shot. So the 1, I throw 1, they throw 2, I throw 3. It has to be a knee. So they got to explore different ways they can land that knee. Whether it's just a normal knee, switch knee, jumping knee, scissor knee, they got to try land that knee strike. After they've each had a round of that, we're now going to go into our live rounds. So we're going to work, the focus today is going to be our teeps. So we're going to have one person who can only use their teep strikes to the leg, to the body, and the other person can use everything else except for a teep. So their round kicks, their punches, so basically punches and kicks, kickboxing without teeps versus just teeps. So that way they get forced to use that thing rather than, maybe they're not really inclined to use their teep and they just rely on something else. So now they're forced to get better at that skill. Then we're going to swap over. After swapping over, we've got a round where one person has their punches with their teeps and the other person has their kicks with their teeps. So again, learning the relationship between our teeps and our boxing and our teeps with our kicks. And then after that, we're going into our freestyle sparring. The next group we have our boxing class. And this one's a bit more of a mix with beginners and higher up. So there's more kind of beginners. And today it's the same thing. It's actually going to be partner work the whole time. No pad work. So it's just fun enough. It's laying on the same day, but they're on their own kind of like schedule. So with the boxing today, we're going to start off with a preset combination that I'm going to get them doing back and forth with their partner. Then after that, we're going to do a 2 for 2. But the rule for the defense is going to be the person defending, they have to cover the first shot. So they got to shell or cover, and then they have to move their head on the second shot. They can't cover the second. So it might be cover, roll, cover, pull, cover, slip, whatever that's being thrown at them, and they have to read and react to that thing. After they do their 2 for 2 on that one, we're now going to go into a technique, actually a drill that actually one of my students recently came up with, and I thought it was really, really smart. So Chris, shout out for coming up with this. I could tell you a story about him, but I always do it, so I'm not gonna do that today. But he's come a really long way, especially from where he started. And I really respect your mind, Chris. I really respect your mind and the way you can analyze things. So with Chris, I'm sorry, not with Chris, with this drill, how it's going to work, it trains you to try and create openings, or sorry, that's not actually true. It's you throw shots to watch and observe how are they reacting. So if I throw a hook, how does he defend the hook? All right. And then based on the data which I just collected from that, then I'm going to modify. So if I throw the hook again, based on his reaction, now I might feint it and throw a body shot. You know, it depends how they open up, and then I use that information and I use that too. Well, believe it or not, my phone actually overheated in the car while I was giving the rundown of what I was doing with the classes, and I was completely unaware, so I spoke for another few minutes. But basically, where I was at was just what we're going to do in the boxing class. After describing that drill which Chris had given me, which was basically throwing a shot to collect information on how they're responding and then use that to set up my next shot, which I think is brilliant. It makes you a smarter fighter. After we do that round, we're then going to move into our live our live sparring, but it's going to be restricted. And again, this is to allow certain connections to be made and relationships. And when I say relationships, I mean, for example, the first round is just lead hand sparring. So you're only allowed to use your lead hand. Okay, so what is the relationship between my jab and my hook? How do they work together? How do they chain together? What opportunities come when I use my jab? What openings are created? So when you force yourself to do something in a very narrow way, it actually allows you to do those narrow things at a better quality. So that's why I love the constraint-led approach. After this round where we do the lead hand, then we're going to do a round where one person only has their lead hand, one person has their rear hand. And then again, now the person with the lead hand, they can just pop shots out, where the person with the rear hand, they've got to be a lot more cautious. They've got to actually make the person with the lead hand miss and throw their right hand as a counter. They can't just put their right hand out like their lead hand, or they're going to get caught with the counter hook. So they've got to be a lot more conservative and a lot smarter in some senses. So then we're going to swap after that. And then if there's any time, we're going to get into some freestyle sparring. So let's take a look at these classes. I don't think I'm going to actually film the boxing class, so we'll see how it goes. But definitely we're going to take a look at the Muay Thai class and get some footage of that. Alright, so now we're looking at the class. We've just finished some skipping and we're getting right into some shadowboxing. So with shadowboxing, a lot of the time I'll give them something specific to either work on, like to focus on a specific tactic or technique. Otherwise, they're working on something that they've been focusing on for a while to try and get better at that thing. Now we're getting our sparring gear on, so we're going to get straight into our sparring drills. No pad work today. Starting off with a freestyle Dutch drill, so taking turns 1 for 1, throwing whatever they want to throw, working on whatever they want to work on. So we've got Aaron and Tony here. Just again, nice flow back and forth between the two of them, taking turns. So now we've moved on to our next drill. This drill is a 1, 2, 3, as I like to call it, but specifically focusing on landing the knee at the end. So one person throws 1 shot, the other one instantaneously returns with 2, and then the person who started off with 1 finishes with 3, but finishing with the knee at the end. And we've got one person working one thing the whole round, then we swap, and the goal is to try and mix up the different knee strikes that they're throwing. So now we're on to the next one. So this drill is going to be one person only throwing teeps, and the other person can throw everything except for the teep. So this is going to force a person with the teeps to only use their teeps. How do they control the space? How do they keep the person back just using their teep? And this is going to get them better at timing their teep and controlling that space. The other person is obviously going to have to try and deal with the teep, using their parries, their catches, and seeing how they can get past the teep. And they can only use everything else. So they can use their punches, their kicks, just no teeps from them. And you can see here, you learn to really disrupt the person's movement and timing. And the cool thing is, if you can control where a person is in the space, you can control the fight. So now the drill has evolved. So we've got one person just throwing kicks and the other one just using hands, but both people have their teeps. So they're learning the relationship between their kicks and their teeps and their punches and their teeps. How do I set one up? How do I use my punches to set up my teep? And how do I use my teep to set up my punches? And now we've swapped over. It's getting really hot. It was a really hot day, so the shirts are coming off, making sure that both people get a chance at both. So now we're on to our freestyle sparring. So I said they can do whatever they want.
If they want to still focus on trying to work on that teep, they can. Otherwise, if there's anything particular that they're trying to work on, they can do that as well, you know. But I think they've gotten quite a lot of time in with that teep this session, so I give them that freedom to not have to think about anything and just flow. Sometimes you want to be in a state where you're thinking, sometimes you want to be in a state where you're just reactionary. You want to get good time in both.
So another successful class. Pretty much everything went according to plan. Drills worked how I wanted them to work. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. I didn't manage to film anything in the boxing class because we had a few new guys, and whenever someone's new, I really like to spend a lot of attention with them, get them up to scratch as quick as I can. I really like someone leaving my first class with a good broad understanding of your primary attacks and how to block those primary attacks, even if it's not at a high level and it's not refined. I want them leaving with a good kind of like, they've put their foot in the water, they understand pretty much what to expect. So I had a new guy and I had a pair that I was just kind of checking on the whole time, and I didn't want to be going between them and trying to film stuff at the same time. But I think there's loads of footage for the Muay Thai for you to enjoy. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you guys next time.